And talking about documentary movie, documentary is a non-fiction work that seeks to record some aspect of reality, and this can be done for education, preservation, and entertainment purposes. The word documentary was first coined by Scottish documentary filmmaker John Grierson in his review of Robert Flaherty's film Moana in 1926.
And since today we're talking about documentaries, we have joined by filmmaker Mandy Marahimin from Tanakir Films.
That's right. She produces both fiction and documentary films, and her latest documentary, Semesta, or Island of Faith, was released in January 2020. Good evening, Mbak Mandy. Hi, thank you for joining us on the 3 Hour News Show.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Really nice to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you. I mean, it's great to see you. So, first of all, we want to know your perspective. What do you think about the state of Indonesian film industry in 2021? We know that there are a lot of Indonesian movies coming out during this year.
Well, the Indonesian film industry was actually rising since 2016, and it's been growing steadily until the pandemic hit. When the pandemic hit, then suddenly we had to slow down and even stop, not just producing, but also screening films. And I think 2021 is actually a new beginning for us, because now we have a lot of films being screened in the theater from Indonesia, and we only see around 20 to 30% of the audience returning to the cinema, but we are hopeful that in the next years things will become better. So I think this will be our challenge, but also our opportunity to grow.
That's right.
Wow, that's interesting. Mandy, out of curiosity, how did you first get into the industry of documentary movies?
I actually started in the film industry by being a film publisher for Ada Pada Dengan Cinta, or What Is Love, back in 2002. And then from there, since I wanted to be a producer, I started studying film marketing, and then I started to become a line producer before I started to produce films by myself. And after several years of producing fiction films, I got curious about documentaries, because I know documentaries, I love documentaries, and I think documentaries are very exciting to make, but it's a different kind of filmmaking than fiction. So since 2015, I started to make documentaries well. I started with making short documentaries, which one has been shown in NHK Japan, and then in 2020 I released my first feature documentary, which is Semesta, or Island of Faith, and that's how I started in documentary.
Wow.
Now, so you've mentioned earlier, just now, about Semesta. Can you tell us a little bit more about Semesta? I've watched it, actually. I went to the movies and watched it, but maybe some of our viewers may not have seen it. So can you tell us a little bit about it?
Of course. Well, first of all, thank you for watching it in the cinema. It means a lot. Semesta was made based on our concern about climate change, because we know from data that many Indonesians still don't believe in climate change. And then we got another data which says that Indonesians are the most religious people in the world. So we're kind of thinking, maybe if we want to campaign about climate change, we have to go through this religious route. So we did a little research, and we found out that actually we have practices in Indonesia that fight climate change, that help slow down the effect of climate change. And these actions are based on religious beliefs. So that's how we came about with the idea of the film. So in the film, we filmed 7 protagonists from 7 different provinces and from different religious and also local beliefs, who did things for the environment based on their beliefs. So they understand that that nature needs our help, that we as human beings, we are given a duty to conserve our environment. But they did it because of their strong belief in their faith or religion.
That's very interesting. I remember the documentary about climate change. It was the Inconvenient Truth by Al Gore, but that was a long time ago. Probably people didn't realize and didn't really think that it's something that is true happening. But now in 2021, it happens, like all the extremes weather and all that. So next, I'll probably want to ask you if you have studied the audience. What kind of documentaries do the audience want to watch?
It's actually a very hard question to answer because documentaries are also like fiction. They have different genres, they have different approaches, they have different issues, and they have a different way of telling the stories. So people might leaning towards certain kind of documentaries while other people lean towards another kind of documentaries. Just like what the three of you just talked about earlier, that one of you likes environmental documentaries, one of you likes crime stories, one of you likes historical documentaries. So it's very hard to figure out what the audience wants.
Yeah.
But I have a strong belief in the power of documentaries to change the world. So in my opinion, people actually want to help make the world a better place in any way they want. So any kind of issues being told well, in a way that is engaging, I think people will come and see it. And also it comes down to how we make the film to make sure that the audio and the visual are pleasing to our senses. If we can make documentaries that have good production value and have good research as a base, and then good issues, I believe people will come to watch it because I believe in the human capacity to want to make the world a better place.
Wow.
Mandy, I do also agree with you that the more interesting and the more engaging the documentary movie is, then people tend to want to watch. This is, apart from my Octopus teacher, I also watched The Act of Killing by Joshua Oppenheimer about the massacre in the, G30SPKI, the PKI movement back then in 1965. It was so big. The movie was so popular and it got covered in Tempo and in many major media. But, what is the biggest challenge when it comes to making movies or documentary movies in Indonesia? Is it about the access? Is it about the human resources? Or is it about what, according to your opinion?
In my opinion, the first hurdle is talking about the issue, because we have to admit that Indonesians don't talk about a lot of things. We don't discuss many things. For instance, when you mention Act of Killing, of course, we don't openly talk about what happened in 1965. So choosing the issues itself is a challenge because there are many things that we don't talk about that are important to talk about. And then secondly, of course, regarding the talent, we don't have many people working in documentaries. And even though we do have some people working in documentaries, not many people are patient enough, because documentaries, for making documentaries, you need time. You need in-depth research. You need to shoot the film patiently. And not many people in my experience have that kind of patience to just do research thoroughly, to just shoot slowly, and then to ensure that the production value of the film will be good. Those are the challenges. And then also the challenge is with the communication, because once we make the film, of course, we want the film to be seen. But many film audience in Indonesia still think that documentaries are boring.
Yeah.
While in my experience, it's because we are so accustomed to documentaries that we see back in the day when we only have one TV channel in Indonesia,
Yeah.
and those documentaries are made for propaganda. So of course we think those are boring, but actually recently we have produced many documentaries that are different, that are engaging, but then didn't have a good distribution channel, so people don't have access to it. If people have access to it, if people have access to them, then people can see that documentaries can be a form of entertainment and also has an added value for them.
Wow, talking about publicists. I mean, you're good in that, so you can actually make way to make those documentaries being, you know, having the way and access to the viewers, because so many people actually want to watch documentaries, right?
Yeah, because by watching documentaries, I think you can learn a lot
Exactly.
on topics that we don't really know. So I'm curious, in your opinion, do you think documentaries can compete in international stage?
Actually, yes. Many Indonesian documentaries have been screened in international festivals and win awards internationally. Because Indonesia is actually a gold mine for documentaries. Why? Because in this country we have so many problems. We have so many
Yeah, it's a blessing. Huh?
and those are a gold mine. It's actually a blessing for documentary filmmakers because we can talk about many things only if we dare to talk about it and if we dare to spend time to research and work on it. So internationally, of course, they are interested to look at Indonesia, but not from the eyes of a foreigner. Internationally, they always look for films from countries that they don't know about, but being made by the filmmakers from that country. So not from the eyes of foreigners who come to Indonesia and then make films in Indonesia, but what they are looking for are films about Indonesia made by Indonesians.
Mandy, this is, I think, a really intriguing question because we live in a society that loves cinetron, that loves drama and gossip, and we do create soap opera and things that doesn't require deep thinking, doesn't require our logic. That is really popular to Indonesian audience. How will you popularize documentary movies to that kind of segments of audience?
Actually, I think Indonesians watch a lot of sinetron and TV drama because they don't have options. Because in many parts in Indonesia, they don't have access to the cinema, for instance. Our cinema distribution is still not, it's still very centered. And then also they don't have access to other forms, and for instance, OTT platforms like Netflix or Disney Plus.
Yeah.
It's not very well distributed here yet.
Yeah.
The big cities have them, but not the smaller cities or the villages or in the local traditional society.
All right.
So I think in research, in the media research, sinetron still comes on top because people who don't have alternatives. They were not given an option of what to watch. But if we look at how good documentaries in YouTube did, good Indonesian documentaries in YouTube did, they did very well. Millions of people watched it.
Yeah.
So actually there's proof that, for me, that's proof that if you make something good, if you make something engaging, people want to know. People want to watch.
Right.
And people actually have concern to see themselves on screen, which are more genuine.
Okay.
Because in that documentaries, you film genuinity
Yes.
Right. Well,
of Indonesian people.
Thank you so much, Mandy, and thank you for having such a great thought of trying to motivate people to change the world, to make it a better place. Hopefully, you know, your way will be easy, and hopefully more and more people get access to watch documentaries, good quality ones especially. Thank you for joining us once again.
Much.
Take care.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Our
It's our
pleasure, Mandy,
pleasure,
and good luck with your works and projects.